Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AfterBuzz. I'm your host Brandon Coates. We got producer Dave sitting right over there.
Good morning.
Interesting show lined up for you today. By the way, so first and foremost here, I do have to say this. This is what year would this be? Seventh grade Brandon's journal. Now, as I've explained it, this was actually a school assignment, so this isn't like unfiltered Brandon. This is Brandon writing knowing that somebody was going to be reading it. But I do have this, and I'll be reading some entries today. I'm just warning you right now, it's god awful. It's fucking terrible. But anyway, we'll get to all that here in a little bit. I do have to say, we are dedicating this episode of the AfterBuzz to a good man named Gary. If you guys aren't familiar, or if you guys didn't know, my parents went through a divorce about seven years ago. And my mom started dating again, and she had been dating a guy, Gary, for about 5 years, and we lost Gary last Friday to a very short battle with cancer. Gary was an amazing guy. He was in a really difficult situation where he's got, he's dating my mom, and then there's me and my sister who were adults. When the parents get divorced, so it could be a little bit awkward there. He took it all in stride. He was an amazing guy. And another reason I want to bring it up too is it just goes to show you how quickly something can be taken away, because he was just here at my wedding back in September. Had some health issues here and there, but it seemed like every single time he went to the doctor, like it was always something worse. And it was to the point where the doctors were like, if we don't do any treatment, you have about 5 to 6 months. And he lasted like 3 weeks. So just don't ever take anything for granted. And Gary, solid dude, that guy. Another solid dude, my good friend, Josh Lunsford. He stepped up huge. So he got the news, what's today, Wednesday? I think it was Monday. And I'm going out for my run. And I know what's going, because he's texting me. I missed his phone call. Josh texts me, and I know that I have a feeling like, hey, he found out about Gary, so he's calling to ask me about it and to kind of talk to me about it, which he was. And I had mentioned to him, like I was looking to get back to Portland for the funeral, but like the price of tickets were just insane, like $800, like minimum, to get there for the funeral. And without skipping a beat, Josh says, "I got your ticket. Don't worry about it." He's like, I got miles or points or something. And so sure as shit, courtesy of Mr. Josh Lunsford, I get to go back and be there for Mother's Day as well, to Portland. So Josh, big ups to you, my man. I know it's a little awkward way to start the AfterBuzz, but those are a couple of things I felt the need to kind of get out there, because what I like the AfterBuzz to be is, it's about my life, and I want it to be as unfiltered as possible, so you guys kind of get a look into, what's going on here. So yeah, there we go. We lost a really good man last Friday, and as Gary unfortunately succumbed to cancer. But on that note, we do have a lot of topics that we're going to cover today on the AfterBuzz. The first one, Tool is teasing that they are going to be playing new music when they start their tour, or when they start some of their new shows, which begin this weekend in Jacksonville, Florida. So Adam Jones, the guitar player, and of course I can't play it on here because it's all copyrighted and all that fun stuff. So I can't actually do it on here, God forbid. But if you go to his Instagram page, I believe it's just Adam Jones _TV. If you go to his Instagram page, he just kind of teased a riff. People don't know if that's some of the new music or what it might be, but we might get our first listen of new Tool music by this weekend if they perform it live coming up this weekend when they play in Jacksonville. Also, that's just really quick right there. I want to jump into pretty quick to the Avengers Endgame stuff, because that was kind of what we've been teasing through most of the week. Buzz really wanted to be on this. I know it's killing him, but with the whole Gary situation, I didn't want Buzz to feel awkward in here. Like I was telling producer Dave this, it'd be kind of weird to be like, hey, we're going to talk about Avengers Endgame, but I'm going to drop this bomb on you, at the very beginning. So hopefully he's preparing all of his ideas for for Monday, when we're basically getting rid of all spoiler uh, restrictions.
Right.
I guess
You've given everyone 7 days a
ample,
week.
not even so. It would be like over 10.
More,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it came out that Thursday, so we're giving people 2 full weekends to see it. So just be prepared coming up on Monday. We will be talking about it, but I do have one main theory that I want to talk about. But first of all, holy fuck, Iron Man's dead! Like, dude, and it totally overshadows the Black Widow. Like, that was something that our overnight guy mentioned to me. He's like they kind of just they didn't do anything for her. I'm like, well, they did. Like, because obviously they mourn when they come back and they all have the stones and they haven't finished the new gauntlet yet. Um, but they also kind of pay homage to her and Vision at the end after Tony's funeral. I mean, they most likely had a funeral for her. They just don't show it in the movie. But the big thing too is um, with who is it? It's Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch. They're standing by the lake, and that's what they're talking about. And Hawkeye makes the comment about, "I really wish, I could tell her that it worked, or that we succeeded, and that we won." And that's when Scarlet Witch looks at her, and she's like, "I think they know." And I think she's also talking about Vision. I think that's them paying homage to the two Avengers that we did lose. Which brings me to my theory. So in the comic books, Adam Warlock basically lived inside the Soul Stone. What I think that they're going to do, or I don't know if they're going to do it at all, but this is kind of my theory, was they're going to because they're still going to come out with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I hope they keep Thor in there, because Thor was pretty damn amazing so far throughout all of the MCU, but even there in Endgame, when they're playing the video games, they get the Thor, that kid on the TV called me dickhead again, and he grabs the headset and he's yelling at Nuke Master 69. But I really hope they keep Thor for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and I'm hoping what the plot line they're going to do with that, because you remember they teased that cocoon, and that's kind of the cocoon of Adam Warlock. And what I'm hoping that they end up doing is that you can't do a Guardians of the Galaxy movie without Gamora, or at least having the plot line of that movie going to try to get Gamora. Now, I know in Endgame they're saying, like, you can't come back from this, blah, 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 which you can't go back and just grab. Like, Buzz was like, why don't they just, like, keep that Gamora from the past? Because then you're disrupting that timeline, because then they're without Gamora in that reality, and it doesn't work that way. But what I'm hoping that they're able to do is, if they introduce Adam Warlock, they are somehow able to end up inside the Soul Stone, and then poof, you've got both Gamora and Black Widow there. So I think that would be a really great way to kind of, at least as a plot line for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And one thing we talked about on the air today is that they had mentioned, Marvel has said they're not making any official announcements until Spider-Man Far From Home is released. So we're probably not going to hear anything until after the 4th of July, because for the past, 11 years, every year we were getting updates. Like, these are the movies that are coming out. This is going to be phase 2. This is going to be phase 3. And this is what's in line. And it changed, it shifted here and there. But you pretty much knew it's going to be, you had Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. They were going to introduce Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man as well, and Doctor Strange, and then you have Black Panther, Spider-Man, all these different characters. And so we don't have that right now. So for me, we're halfway through the final season of Game of Thrones. The Infinity Saga has wrapped up, and then we're about to wrap up the Skywalker Saga in Star Wars at the end of the year. And it's like, well, what am I looking forward to next year? Oh, I don't fucking know, because there's nothing really announced for next year. If you go look and try to see, like, hey, what cool movies are coming out, there's like Birds of Prey, where Margot Robbie comes back as Harley Quinn, and it's like, I'm really not that excited about that. But yeah, so anyway, let me see here. I'm going to go through the chat here really quick. Jack Chugger says, sorry to hear about my condolences. Thank you. Appreciate that. And Manny says, someone's profile pic, random entertainment news, and a customer almost ruined it. Funny thing was, I yelled at the lady customer to shut it. She replied, it's just a movie. Yeah, I haven't seen it, and that's something that really bugs me. Oh, it's just a movie. Yeah, but some people have invested their lives in this at this point. Like they have invested to the point where, um, uh, that like this is 11 years in the making, and so to have it ruined so simply because some shithead out in a grocery store. Like even when my wife and I went out, we went and grabbed dinner on Saturday after we saw it, and her and I started talking about it, and even she stopped and she's like, I feel like I need to talk quieter because just in case there's somebody within earshot of us, she's like, I don't want to be that person that ruins the movie for somebody. And that's the one thing that I find odd. If you're one of those idiots that's like, well, I don't mind ruining it for you. Well, go fuck yourself. Like you're a piece of human garbage, dude. Like that's if you get joy out of destroying something for somebody, that makes you human garbage to me. Like that legitimately is what makes you a bad person because you're taking joy away from somebody just because you don't care about it or just because you don't find it entertaining doesn't mean you should take that joy away from somebody else. It's fucking rude. But anyway,
And that's how you
Rudy,
guys closed the show today. Was seeing if it would be legal to to hit
yeah,
someone
I think it should be
or
fully legal. Just popping somebody in the mouth if they go to ruin it. Now, I mean, after a while, obviously, I mean, if you're dead serious about, that's why we're giving it until next Monday. Because if you're dead serious about seeing it, you should have seen it by then. And even then, we're giving you enough warning to know, like, hey, we will be talking about this coming up on Monday's show. Rudy says, yeah, Gamora can't be in the Guardians 3 movie. But I'm telling you, if like that's kind of what I'm hoping for there, because in the comic books, it was Adam Warlock who he lived inside the Soul Stone. Of course, he had a much bigger role when it came to the actual Infinity Gauntlet, but they haven't even introduced him yet. But they teased him at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And so to tease him there and to know that he lived inside the Soul Stone, Gamora was killed so that Thanos could get access to the Soul Stone. It seems a little too close right there, and I really hope they can kind of go down that path. And maybe it's Adam Warlock that helps them get Gamora back. And which brings me actually to one of the first comments that we had. Stephen, whatever it is. Did Nebula not know how the Soul Stone was obtained? It appears she didn't warn the group about it. Yeah, she doesn't. She sends Black Widow and Hawkeye off without any kind of a warning of, hey, one of you's not coming back. And I don't know at that point if she knew or not. I'm blanking on if she did. Um, if she didn't tell him, it's kind of fucked up. Like I'll tell you that. But then again, maybe she would have had a purpose behind that because uh, maybe they wouldn't do the mission. I don't know. But for some reason, I can't think about that. Let me see here. Brian says he didn't cry when Iron Man died. He cried when Tony hugged Parker. Then Tony said, "I love you 3000," and when Morgan said she wanted a cheeseburger. Yeah, all those like gut wrenching
yeah.
moments right there. Which are some of the callbacks. I've got a couple of blogs up at buzzadamshow.com if you want to check them out. One of them is callbacks that they did. It has to do with the cheeseburger. If you'll notice, one of the more famous lines that in Endgame is when Falcon's coming back and he's like, "Cap, on your left." And then that's when Doctor Strange has opened up the one portal. That's a callback to Winter Soldier when they're jogging and Captain America just keeps passing him on your left, on your left, on your left, on your left. So that's a callback to that. What were some of the other callbacks that they had? Let me actually bring that blog up, and we can talk about that really quickly as well. Because um, I think there's about 4 or 5 I put in there, and then there's a second blog that I did that was like little Easter eggs and stuff, or things that you may have missed in Avengers Endgame. So let's first go to the callbacks here for Avengers Endgame. We had Budapest. That's something that keeps getting brought up here in regards to Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. Remember in the first Avengers, she's like, "It feels like Budapest all over again," and he's like, "You and I have a very different memory of Budapest." They bring that back up in Endgame when they're flying off to where they're flying off on the planet. They were in the Benatar. They were in the ship. That's when they were going to the planet Vormir, I think it is, to go get the Soul Stone. And that's when one of them makes the comment, "We're pretty far from Budapest now, huh?" So that's a callback. The on your left was a callback. The cheeseburgers was a callback because you remember in the first Iron Man when they first bring Tony back, he wants an American cheeseburger. So that's, when Morgan, she's asked by Happy, do you want something? And she says, I want a cheeseburger. And he's like, your dad liked cheeseburgers.
That's the line that kind of got me
The
there.
cheeseburgers.
Yeah, the cheeseburger part right there.
And then we also had the, we'll lose and we'll do that together too. That one is pretty obvious because that's a direct, line that they're even pointing out in Endgame to Age of Ultron when Tony was talking about how, we need to have a security blanket around this planet. And he even says, and I put the clip, excuse me, I put the clip in the blog is where he's talking about, we can stop drug dealers or smugglers or whatever all we want. And he goes, but up there, that's the end game. And he points up to the sky and it's like, ooh, foreshadowing. Bam, bitch. And then another really obvious callback was from Infinity War to Endgame was when, at the beginning of Endgame, when Thor cuts off Thanos' head at the very beginning after he's gotten rid of the original set of Infinity Stones. And Rocket's like, what did you do? He's like, I went for the head. That's, a callback to Infinity War when after he's, plunked Stormbreaker in Thanos' chest, like, you should have gone for the head. Boom, everybody's done. And then, of course, another big one, something that Buzz and I were talking about that they pretty much turned into a catchphrase was, I can do this all day, for Captain America. Like, that kind of became his catchphrase. And then the other blog that I have is some of the stuff that you may have missed during Avengers Endgame. One was that New Asgard. It's located at Tonsberg, Norway. This was the Earth-based battleground for Odin's war against the Frost Giants. It's also where the Red Skull first found the Tesseract. So if you want to check out that blog, you can find it over at buzzadamshow.com. It's kind of got a whole bunch of different things. One of the really cool links, at least for me personally, because I'm a huge fan of the show Community, that had Joel McHale, Chevy Chase, Donald Glover, Ken Jeong, Danny Pudi, Yvette Nicole Brown, Allison Brie, and Gillian Jacobs, was that the Russo brothers, the pair that directed Endgame, they also directed Infinity War. They also directed Civil War and The Winter Soldier, but they also directed a whole bunch of Community episodes. So that's that link. So when you're watching their movies, and you'll notice Ken Jeong had a guest appearance in Endgame. He's got a fake mustache on, but he plays a security guard that's taking care of kind of the warehouse where Scott Lang's band is located. It's where it's being kept. And then Yvette Nicole Brown, she was in the elevator back in 1970 when Captain America and Iron Man go back to try to get the Pym particles and the Tesseract. So there's a couple there. So there's a reason that a lot of these Community actors are making appearances in some of these movies. It's because the Russo brothers directed them in episodes of Community quite frequently. Okay, so I think that's enough. Are we good? Are we good? Is there anything else? Does anybody want anything else for Avengers Endgame? I got to feel like if Buzz is back watching this right now, it's killing him because he wants to come talk about this stuff. Like, he's really chomping at the bit to talk about it. And maybe, you know what? How about this? Because this is a bit of a different after Buzz. But maybe what we'll do is possibly tomorrow, if we have time, we will do a specific Avengers discussion board. Maybe I'll talk to Buzz about coming in and doing that tomorrow. Let me see here. So let me check into the chat here. The hero of the movie was the mouse that freed Ant-Man. Yes, it's a very good point there. It's coming from Mark in the YouTube chat. How can Falcon be the next Captain America if he's not a super soldier? I never quite understood that. I also never quite understood how he's able to survive a ton of the crap that he goes through if he's not like a Captain America type super soldier. But that does follow the comic books where Sam Wilson does take over as Falcon, or does take over as Captain America. So it's basically Falcon with, red, white, and blue and stars and stripes on him and stuff. Is Spider-Man going to keep the suit for Far From Home? My understanding is Far From Home happens before all these events. So he doesn't have any of the suits that he had from Infinity War through Endgame because that happens before. It's kind of a prequel, as is my understanding. Doctor Strange doesn't point to the. Did somebody mention something about Doctor Strange pointing to the sky? No, he wasn't pointing to the sky. He was pointing. He was doing this to Iron Man. Because remember, Iron Man kept asking him, "Is this the one?" Like he was like, "Is this the one in 14? Was it 14,605 that we win?" And then it's right at the end there when Doctor Strange just kind of looks and goes like this, and that's when Tony knows I got like this is it, and that's when he gets the actual stuff. And you'll notice Thanos says that twice, that I am inevitable. He says it at the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie. When does I am inevitable, he goes, and then whoa, what? And there's nothing there, and then Tony's like, bam, I am Iron Man. Got it. But yeah, so anyway, let me see here. Yeah, Bucky also did take up the Winter Soldier. Bucky Barnes also did take over as Captain America in the comic books as well. But as you can see, by the end of Endgame, they passed it on to Sam Wilson, aka Falcon. But anyway, we'll wrap that up there. I might talk to Buzz. Maybe we will come in tomorrow because I know the dude is just chomping at the bit to get in here to talk Avengers, and I feel bad because I talked about bringing him in, but it all morning I was battling with that. All morning I was trying to figure out how do I do this. I even texted my mom to ask her, like, is it okay if I bring up Gary? If you guys are late arriving to the show, this episode of the AfterBuzz is dedicated to my mom's boyfriend Gary, who passed away last Friday after a very short battle with cancer. And so this morning I was battling with that. I'm like I want to bring it up and I want to mention it because I want to give Gary his props. Like he was a really 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 good dude. Who he made my mom incredibly happy, and that's having your parents go through a divorce that late in life, it can be very difficult to deal with. Gary made it pretty damn easy because he made my mom incredibly happy, and quite frankly, that's all I want. I'm not there. I'm thousands of miles away. I just want somebody who's going to make her happy, and that's what he did. So I wanted to make sure that that got acknowledged here on the AfterBuzz. And all morning I'm battling with it. I'm like, I know Buzz really wants to get in there and talk Avengers, but it just feels awkward having him in on this. So maybe tomorrow we can get in and do like a full Avengers discussion. We might even get into more Game of Thrones discussions. Because there's one thing I want to bring up for Game of Thrones. So we'll transition now from Avengers to Game of Thrones. Is the ending of it. Did you watch it, Producer Dave?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So I felt I could see enough. I mean, I know it was a bit of a struggle to see it, but I assumed that was done on purpose because the whole point of that battle is it's done at night and it's done between the living and the dead and all this other crap, and like it was difficult to see. So I thought that was kind of like, hey, we're throwing you into the battle. Like they can't see, so you can't see. You know what I mean? And one of the things that bothered me at first, and I've been trying to kind of figure something out, at the very end of the episode, when the Night King ends up in the what's the name of the place with the tree?
I'm not sure.
Something wood.
The word wood.
Yeah, Producer Dave will look that up. But when he showed where Bran is at when the Night King kills Theon, which by the way, man, I picked every other goddamn Greyjoy in the death draft, and he's the one that goes out first. At least I got a point for Beric Dondarrion. If he wasn't brought back, for all we know, Melisandre could have brought him back like one final time. Who knows? But the thing that was odd is you had all of these whites just surrounding. Is it Werewood?
I think it's called word. Yeah, wordwood, something like that. I'm looking at this picture now.
But anyway, so like it's filled with these whites, and like how would one of them have not seen Arya Stark coming? Like seriously, like a guy wouldn't like stick his foot out and try and trip her? Like at least do something. But instead, she comes flying in. He turns around. He grabs her by the throat. She drops the knife, catches it in her hand, bam, stabs him, boom, poof. He turns into dust. I have a theory behind that as well. And my theory for that is, was it the Men with No Faces or whatever the cult thing that she was kind of, a part of?
Uh-huh.
I have a feeling that she was able to mask herself, which is how she got in, which is why she was the only one who was able to do that. She was the only one that was able to get close enough to the Night King because she knew how to completely mask who she was, and she was able to Werewood, Many-Faced God. There we go. Thank you, Jack Chugger, for helping us out there, man. But yeah, so that was the thing is how did she get past all these whites that are like supposed to be there to protect the Night King? And that was my one theory, is that she was actually able to like sneak past. You know what I mean? She was able to conceal her identity until the final point. But then I guess at that point, why would you jump at him? You know, like wouldn't you just kind of walk up and give him a little stick to the side? Um, but anyway, so that was my kind of one theory about Game of Thrones. I'm looking forward to the final 3 episodes here. I'm still pretty confident about my picks. I've got Euron Greyjoy, Yara Greyjoy, the other two Greyjoys. I've got Brienne of Tarth. Oh, and Braun. And here's why I picked them. I pretty much assumed all the Greyjoys are getting wiped out. Like I don't know why. I just felt like, they're going to be gone. Braun, I think, is just due because for the whole series, he's just been a sellsword. He's really had no allegiances, kind of an allegiance to Tyrion for a little bit, but he looks out for himself. But I think he's due. Like I think either he's going to redeem himself and he's going to basically take a bullet, take a sword for somebody, or it's just what, this guy's a bad dude. Even though he's a hilarious character. Wasn't he the one that was chuckling when the one guy mentioned his name was Dickon?
Yeah.
When it was last season, when they're like Rickon, the one guy goes Dickon, and like the second the guy says his name, Braun just starts laughing his ass off, which is it was brilliant, it was hilarious. And then I swear, I still think Brienne of Tarth is going to sacrifice herself for Jaime. I just that's what my gut's telling me, man. And I had a theory too that the Night King, that I thought Samwell Tarly was going to be the one that was going to step up and kill the Night King. Obviously, that didn't happen. It was Arya Stark, so I lost out on that point.
I guessed Arya right on mine.
Oh, you did?
That she was the one that killed, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Look at producer Dave stepping it up. Huh? All right, so that's enough Game of Thrones talk. The next topic I wanted to get to here, we got to start getting through this stuff here a little bit, was this story about Wes Welker and the fact that this 2014 is when this was. And we were talking about the Kentucky Derby because I believe it's this weekend. And basically the rumor is Wes Welker popped some Molly the day of the Kentucky Derby. And he ended up winning big on a race. And there's pictures of him all decked out. And I guess he was like, sweating profusely, like all the signs of being on Molly. And he's got this just gigantic stack of $100 bills. And he's just handing them out to people. Just fucking boom, 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 boom. Here you go. It says this is what happened here at the clubhouse. Wes Welker walked up to commissary, sooty fingerprints streaking the sweat pouring down his chest. Quote, somebody to Wes Welker, "Sir, you have to put on a shirt." Wes Welker responds, "I need a pack of gum and the biggest thing of water you have, like a jug or whatever." He held his hands about 2 feet apart so as to indicate the sheer volume of water he felt himself capable of drinking. Welker paid with a $100 bill and proceeded to unwrap and chew the entire pack of gum. He started laughing. He laughed for a very long time until his stomach hurt as he doubled over the commissary counter. "Sir, you have to put on a shirt. Clubhouse rules." Welker finally got a hold of himself. "Horse collar," he managed to say, and then he burst out laughing. "That's what they call it," and was just laughing his ass off. So if you just look up Wes Welker, Molly, and that story will pop up. This is from 5 years ago. It's a hilarious damn story. But anyway, so that was the Wes Welker story. One more final thing here before we get to the old 12-year-old Brandon journal entries. Was that I have a new nickname, and it's Megalodon. And I got this one from the kid. So she's got a school project that she's going to be working on here. And it's a pretty simple project that you pick an extinct animal. You kind of got to do I would guess like a diorama or something. Got to, some sort of a report looking thing. And then you need to inform what made it go extinct, like what wiped it out. So we're working on it, and we're talking about it last night while we're having dinner. and we were eating tacos, and man, I just took this gigantic bite of a taco, and I looked over, and my kids looked at me like complete shock and awe on her face, and she looks at me and she goes, "Daddy," she goes, "you eat like a megalodon. I'm gonna start calling you Megalodon." So there you go. Got a new nickname from the kid. Apparently, this guy Megalodon. On that note, if there's anything else you guys want to bring up about any of the stuff that we've talked about today, whether it's Avengers, Game of Thrones, the Wes Welker Pop and Molly, Megalodon, whatever the case may be, by all means, hit up the YouTube chat. So what I have here, this is 12-year-old Brandon's journal. But this was done for school. So this is not completely unfiltered Brandon. This is Brandon knowing that somebody was eventually going to be reading it, Brandon. And it's, did you ever have a class called like core? Like it was your core class?
No.
We had that in junior high school. And so that's what this was for. And it's some of the choppiest damn writing. And as you can notice, I went from, I don't know if you can even see it, if you went from print to what I was doing later on by about December, which was very slanted cursive writing. I don't know if you can see it because it's all done in pencil. And you could definitely tell how my writing changed and how I went from pressing super hard to pretty damn soft towards the end. But here we go. So this comes from September 9th, 1992. And I was talking to producer Dave about this before this episode of the AfterBuzz, trying to figure out how many I should read per episode of the AfterBuzz. They're all relatively short. Most of them are less than a page. But we'll figure it out here. Here's the first one here. Dear Journal. Eventually that went to the wayside, by the way. Or no, I guess it didn't. Dear Journal, I guess, kind of stuck around. Oh yeah, I did. Towards the very end, I would just write Journal because Dear Journal seemed wimpy to me, if I remember correctly. But anyway, Dear Journal. I am 12 years old and my name is Brandon Coates. Today we already had field day. It's only the 4th day of school. I am only in class for a half an hour today. Usually it's 45 minutes or around there. Tonight, I am going to the Clackamas varsity football game. My sister is a JV cheerleader, but still helps cheer at the varsity games. Yesterday, my schedule was changed. I got band now instead of the 2 art classes I signed up for. I'm trying to remember why the hell I did that. I don't know if I got forced into that, like if my parents told me I needed to take band, but I played trumpet. Next semester, I get computers and shop for my electives. Man, shop was dangerous, man. Fuck. 7th grade, 12-year-olds playing around saws and shit. Oy. My math teacher is Mr. Pop. Oh, I used to drive that guy nuts. I used to drive him berserk. Like, math always came really easy to me, so I would goof around a lot. And it was 7th grade when I figured out how to make that dripping water sound. Like, I can't do it as well as I used to, but like that. And dude, I would do that nonstop. And I would do it to the point where he wouldn't know where it was coming from. And then I fucking got caught one day. He was so pissed off. Like we were taking a test and all my friends are fucking laughing because I'm doing it, which, gives it away. And he comes over and I remember he put his hand on my shoulder and there was a little extra oomph when he, when he got his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "If you do that again, I am kicking you out of this class and failing you." And I'm like, fuck. I didn't do it again. I can tell you that. But anyway, math is after 2 periods of core. So core was kind of like, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I think it was like the basic classes of social studies, science, and stuff like that, if I'm remembering correctly. And then I come back to core for one period. Then we go to lunch and back to core for 5th. So apparently like half my schedule was fucking core for whatever was going on that day. And that's the end of the first entry there from 12-year-old Brandon. Here we go. I'll read a second one for today. I've also thought about transcribing these and putting them up as a blog. Do you think anybody would read them?
It'd be interesting. Yeah, I would read them. Just to kind of see what was going through your mind at that age,
All right, maybe. All right, so here's the next one. This one comes from September 15th, 1992. Dear Journal, if I were in charge of the school, I would make the combination locks easier to open. Fuck, I remember this. I like today I couldn't get it open. I would get so fucking frustrated with that thing, man. Like I could not to save my life open that stupid lock. Also, I would give a recess in between sixth and seventh period. At that recess, I would let the students go outside in the gym or in the commons. I would also let kids walk around the commons when they finish lunch. I would also make sure that the teachers gave out only 30 minutes of homework a night to a kid. There would also be 10 minutes between each class, and anybody late for class would have automatic detention. I kid you not. I wrote that. Like, that's what this guy said in here. So there you go. It was a hard ass even when I was in seventh grade. So, on that note, we'll get to more of that here coming up. I'll be reading more entries, I guess, as we go through here on the AfterBuzz for you guys. Maybe I'll transcribe them, put them up as a blog so you guys can go read them at your leisure if you would like. But yeah, so anyway, on that note, if you guys have anything really quick that you want to bring up for the Avengers, Game of Thrones, any of that stuff, by all means, put it in the YouTube chat now. Make sure that you're clicking the like button down there. If you want to share it, by all means, share it. Click the bell so that you're getting the notifications when we go live for the next time on the AfterBuzz, as we try to do this every Wednesday, 10:30 Mountain Time here on the KLAQ YouTube channel. But on that note, everybody have yourselves a great Wednesday. Remember, don't take anything for fucking granted, as we lost a great man last Friday, Gary, who here in a couple weeks I'll get to be back in Portland and officially say goodbye to. And big, big props to my friend Josh for really just coming through and just being an overall good guy. Could not thank him enough. So thank you. Have yourselves a great Wednesday. You know, do you got anything, producer Dave? I'm kind of rambling at the end here. I kind
I'm
of got
good.
lost.
I'm good.
Okay, Dave's good. You guys have yourselves a great Wednesday. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early on the Buzz Adams Morning Show.